about the growing numbers of the spread of the pandemic COVID-19. And Newsfirst, like everybody else, is doing what they can to ensure that the spread is ultra limited and doesn't get out of hand. Now, this evening on our program, joining us by Zoom is the founder of the Sri Lanka Pediatricians Association and a former president of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. BJC Perera. Very good evening to you, Dr. Perera.
Good evening for us, and such a pleasure to be with you again. And a little correction, it's not the Pediatric Association anymore. In 1996, it became the Sri Lanka College of Pediatrics. We are celebrating our silver jubilee this year.
Oh, wonderful. So let's make that clear. Dr. BJC Perera, the founder of the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians. That would be right?
Founder President.
Founder President. Wonderful.
A lot more people were involved.
Wonderful. It's good that we have all these things. Now, in light of the fact that we had yesterday over 200 reported deaths, COVID-related deaths, and also the growing numbers of people testing positive for COVID-19, what of our children? How susceptible are they to this infection? Should they be given the vaccine? And how are they being looked after?
Thank you for that question. I think this is a burning issue at the moment in all the pediatric circles as well as all the other healthcare personnel in the country. I think if you were to ask me to describe the situation as far as children are concerned and COVID-19, there is only one word for it at the moment, and that word is bad, B-A-D, bad. So let me tell you the situation at the moment. Now, I can tell you, I just checked up this morning with the authorities and my colleagues in the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. They have something to the tune of about 30 to 40 admissions of children under 14 years of age with COVID every day. And they have 2 dedicated wards at the moment. My former ward, Ward 9, and the adjoining ward, Ward 8, they have been converted to care for, purely to care for COVID, children with COVID. And now these admissions are going up. Some of them are mildly ill, some of them are moderately ill, and there are perhaps just a very few who need intensive care. And there are different things about the progress of the infection in children. I don't need to go into all the details of this, but I will mention in passing that a couple of things. The vast majority of children who are positive for COVID-19 may be asymptomatic. They may not get anything. Now, one thing to remember is that the children are as susceptible as anybody else, adults, to catch the virus. Although the vast majority of them still remain asymptomatic. But although they are asymptomatic, they can still spread the disease. Now that's where the problem is. So that children, as much as even adults, quite a fair percentage, quite a significant percentage remain asymptomatic, all these people remain a source of infection to everybody else around. Now with the advent of all these mutants, variants, all kinds of things, this becomes extremely significant. So we need to make sure that more than anything else, that our children are protected by taking the necessary precautions that have been advocated by the health authorities. And I will come to the question of the vaccine in a little while. So that's just for a starter.
A WHO report published on the 24th of August says that there's been a 40% increase in COVID cases compared to the previous week. Things are getting a little bit out of hand, aren't they?
Very definitely, and that's why I said that it's just about one word that describes the situation, at least as far as children are concerned, that word is bad. Situation is bad at the moment. And I was, to add to this, I was rather surprised that yesterday at some of these news broadcasts that a person came on television and tried to equate this COVID-19 to something like a common cold, saying 81% do not have symptoms and 14% have very mild disease, and it's something that is nothing to worry about. This is far from the truth, actually.
So, Doctor,
I have no idea.
Why are people being economical with the truth when we really need to be upfront and open about the facts of this pandemic?
Very definitely, and we have gone, I think, all the medical institutions, the academic organizations, even the trade unions have gone to the extent of portraying how bad it is at the moment. So I think we have to keep the public well informed of the situation, because mark my words, the only way that you can control the spread of this disease is by the cooperation of the public. No, there is no other way. You can give any number of vaccines and any amount of vaccines, but if you do not have the cooperation of the general public, that your efforts are not going to produce 100% results. And in one of the latest reports that came out this morning, which I just saw over email, that in England there is a lot of concern about the healthcare personnel who have been vaccinated with 2 doses of the vaccine. Their immunity is beginning to wane off by about the 6th month after the 2nd dose. So they are really going to push hard for a booster dose, at least to the healthcare personnel. So this is the way things go. Actually, I mean, even if you give 2 doses of the vaccine, it is not permanent protection for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any numbers on the number of children that have been who have tested positive?
I don't have the exact numbers at the moment, but as I said, that there are at least 30 to 40 admissions to Ledriche Hospital every day. But even if you have the number of positives, what must be remembered, which is very often not given adequate importance, not provided with adequate importance of that, is that the number of positives, the significance, really depends on the denominator. How many tests have been done? I think, say, a positive test, shall we say 3,000 positive out of 10,000 tested is totally different to 3,000 positive from 25,000 who have been tested. So very important that for at the moment, I think the best guess of the epidemiologists and the community physicians is that when you get the number of positive, there is at least a minimum of 3 times that number running around in the community. So it's a lot more than what is given as the number that has turned out to be positive.
I see. Now tell me, Doctor, what are the symptoms that parents need to watch out for with their kids?
Very important. As I said before, many of them will remain symptom-free, but will still be a source of infection to others, and especially to the elderly in most of our homes. You know, we don't have nuclear families. We have extended families in this country, luckily. So you have grandparents, you have uncles, you have aunts who are probably vulnerable at home. So these children who are positive would be a source of infection. That's the first thing. The second thing is that very often that the children who are affected and who have symptoms would have very mild symptoms of a cough and cold type of illness. So well and good if that settles there. But a small minority of them may even progress from that stage on to something which is of great concern to all of us. That are important as far as progression goes is that it may go on to affect the lungs like in adults and produce what is commonly referred to as COVID pneumonia. But there is a lot more to this than sort of COVID pneumonia. I don't need to go into all the technicalities of this. That's one thing. And then, of course, they may need more specialized care, either in a high dependency unit or in an intensive care unit. Now, these are not all that common. There's such a degree of severity that you get in children, and even in the current wave, what the pediatricians have seen is that there aren't that many of them who need this. Then the second thing is that there is another complication that you can get, and that comes in somewhat later. They think that it could be as late as 2 to about 4 to 6 weeks after the initial onset of the illness, where they get a thing that is now referred to as multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. And that is given the abbreviation MIS-C. Now there what happens is that this thing progresses, and the symptoms that you get are there is persistent or high-grade fever, and then they have skin rashes, they have involvement of the lymph glands, which you can feel. Then they have soreness of the lips and mucous membranes and red eyes, redness of the eyes. So if a child, this is advice to the parents, if a child who is COVID positive, who has apparently recovered, and within a period of about, several weeks after that, develops another sort of swinging high spike of fever, and then starts to develop all these symptoms that I already described, that child desperately needs to get into a hospital because it can be treated. And the sooner we catch them, that hopefully within the first 24 hours of the onset of this problem of MIS-C, then we can really treat them very well.
Right.
Now, the third thing is, now I said that most of these children are asymptomatic. Right? There is a small group. Now, this is causing a lot of concern for us at the moment. There is a very small percentage of these apparently asymptomatic children who are walking around, running around. But they have what is called silent hypoxia. Now, hypoxia means simply, it's a medical term for reduction in the amount of oxygen that is circulating in the body. So when you say silent, now normally when you drop down the oxygen content in the body that is circulating, you have symptoms. These children don't have symptoms, but they are at grave risk of this thing progressing or even sort of progressing on to a critical stage fairly quickly after that. So but some of them may have a very mild degree of shortness of breath. So the advice to parents is that any child who is COVID positive, who has any change in the breathing pattern or has some sort of disturbance of breathing, and if parents are the best people to detect, it's not the doctors, it's the parents. Parents know their children best. So if a mother comes and tells me this child's breathing is not quite right, or the child is not right, I will take that very, very serious. So those are the things that you got to look for.
Thank you very much, Dr. Perera. On that note, let's go for a short break in which we take a little peek at this evening's primetime news from News First. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Quarantine curfew extended until the 6th of September. Essential services to continue as usual. Which segment of society will be prioritized for vaccination next? Those above 18 years of age or 60 years of age?
ඇනලයිස් කරලා කියන්න ඊළඟට එන ප්‍රයොරිටි එක දෙන්න ඕන 30න් 15 අයට ආපහු පළවෙනි සහ දෙවෙනි ඩෝස් එක දෙන එකද වැදගත් 60න් ඉහළ අයට ඉඳලා බූස්ටර් එක දෙන එකද වැදගත්.
Mahasangha rallies to protect the Parakrama Samudraya. Minister of Ports grants relief for sugar importers to reduce the prices of sugar. Grim signs issued for Sri Lanka's ability to settle foreign debt.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Zoom. Our guest this evening is Dr. BJC Perera, who is, of course, the founder president of the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians and also past president of the Sri Lanka Medical Association. He's a pediatrician, and therefore, my question to you, Dr. Perera, is what about the vaccination of children? What vaccines are suitable? When is it suitable?
Thank you. Going to be a very important question for the immediate future. The vaccine that has been, where all the research work has been done up to the present time, and which has been licensed for emergency use in children, is the Pfizer vaccine. And this has been shown to be safe and as effective as in adults, in children over 12 years of age. And now in the United States, they have started to immunize children with this vaccine. And the most recent report is that the other vaccine that was called Moderna before, it's now called Spikevax, has now been authorized to be used in children over 12 years of age in Europe. So they are also beginning, the whole of Europe, to immunize children. Now there are several other vaccines. You have the Sinopharm, Sinovac, various types of vaccines, which are being tried out in children. In several research studies, we do not have the full data on